Hello and welcome to The Wealth Within. Today I have my very, very good friend Lisa with me. And Lisa and I have known each other for over 10 years now. And she is going to be helping us with mindset, my favorite piece. And I feel it is, and I think Lisa would agree, the piece that to bring out and unlock that wealth within, you cannot do it without mindset. You can have all the health, you can have all the wealth and money and all this other stuff. But if you don't
hmm
change your mindset, oof.
Yeah, it's all about a mindset. I call myself a mind mastery coach because I do believe what you just said. Like it's all about mastering your mind, which is mastering your life, mastering yourself. And from there, anything's possible. Everything's created twice. First in your mind as an idea, and then through aligned action can it become a reality. So it is important to think about what you're thinking about.
So I think what we're going to talk about is how to get there sort of full circle. We may weave and wind to get there, but really the whole full circle of how we get from this life that we want to create and the
Mhm.
wealth that we envision for ourselves and changing and growing. So I think we'll bring you first full circle by the end of this talk.
And that's the whole thing. It's really not linear. Like taking action and moving through manifesting. If you think it's point A to point B, there's a lot of twists and turns along the way. And mastering that flow and that dance is the mindset. The mindset you bring to that dance is really what I think it's all about. So yeah, let's see where this dance goes today, Michelle.
Love it. Thank you again. So let's get into it.
Like mindset is very important, but I think mindset actually leads to action.
Yes, because it's changing your mindset that almost propels you to move forward.
To know what action to take.
If you don't have a goal in mind, where are you taking action towards? Like you don't even know. If you don't know what you want out of this life, it doesn't have to be material, but if you don't know what you want out of this life, if you want a healthy, amazing relationship and you're not doing anything but staying in every night, then how are you going to ever manifest that, right?
Yeah, like I say to my mom, or we used to joke like she's gonna end up with the mailman because he's the only guy that comes every day to the door.
I wanted to ask you to come on The Wealth Within Us because I love talking mindset
Well,
with you. You and I have been talking mindset forever, whether we've been practicing it or not. You know, sometimes we don't practice what we preach, but that's why we have
oops.
friends because our friends call us out on our shit. That's for sure.
I mean, practicing what you preach can be difficult, but at least we're preaching it is a part of the talking about it, which helps us remind us what is possible and what's
Well,
available.
and as you and I were just talking, you can't just sit there and think about it. Yeah, you can't just do one thing. You have to combine all the pieces of the puzzle. And I think one of the things that I've discovered on my journey is that depending on where your source is for information, you know, on manifesting, on better health, on
Mhm.
this, it's all about who you follow and the information you get because I've found that a lot of the information is not complete. They tell you this one little piece, and then it's like they keep this other little piece. It's either hidden or elusive.
I don't hide anything. I don't think manifesting's all that secret. I tried to create like how I told you about the science of change, this my
Yes.
little process that I've been realize, visualize, actualize. Like it's not that I mean, I don't want to dumb it down or belittle manifesting as a thing, but I think the most important thing for anyone is to really recognize what you want. And I know that I've been asking myself that right now at this point. What you want keeps shifting, but I think we stay a lot of the times in the wanting of something because it's comfortable there.
Yeah.
Just keep wanting it. You keep wanting it, you don't actually have to have it. And if you don't have it, you can keep wanting it. And we
Well, and when
love
you
that.
keep wanting it, you keep doing the same thing. So not only are you keep wanting it, you're also keep
Yep.
doing the same thing in wanting it.
And the trap I see in my clients all the time is to stay in the wanting, and maybe even myself too, because getting what you actually want can be scary, and you have to go from the wanting to the having, and that's manifesting, to go from the wanting to the having. And how do you do that? Well, you take action. I mean, nothing changes if nothing changes. anything, any action is a good action. A phone call, a text, a reach out, a shift in your routine, whatever, just change it up.
Or clearing
That's kind
out.
of,
I love the clearing out. So you and I recently both had a big clearing out.
oh shit, with the apartment.
And well, actually with both of us, I have my life down to probably a 24-foot U-Haul at this point. It's crazy how much stuff I have recently gotten rid of. It's insane.
A storage unit, I think it's 5 by 8.
Yeah, that's not a lot of space.
Exciting.
You're like kicking it in there, like get in there. But one of the things that
Mhm.
I did going through that process was, holy cow, did I feel free. Like, I have not felt
Mhm.
this free in the longest time, and I'm not saying, well, to, get on your journey, just get rid of all your crap. I mean, I don't necessarily think that's the answer, but getting rid of all the crap that doesn't serve you. Not only the physical crap, but the mental crap, the food crap, all the crap that's not serving you. And maybe do it a little bit at a time. Maybe, like, overwhelm, you'd be like, "Holy crap, I can't handle this."
I don't know. I feel like the overwhelm is where it's at though when it comes to
Yeah,
like you gotta get because you had it coming
I
at you
did.
full force. I did too. Like it was just it's for. I think it's good. That's like the power of have to when you just have to do it and you're just like
Yeah.
ah.
That is true. But I would say when you and I went through that process, we did make a choice to do it. We didn't have to. We chose to do it. So I think just in the fact in choosing, knowing it was better, but there was a fear for sure. Like, oh my God, what am I
Mm-hmm.
going to do with this? What am I going to do with that? Should I keep it? Should I let it go? What happens if this? What happens if that? And when you just sort of do it, oh my gosh, it's such a
Yeah.
wonderful feeling.
I think what you're describing is actually how transformation and change really is, no matter where you're applying it. Because both of us were like, well, when you're in the what ifs, it means there's an unknown.
Mhm.
So you got the choice that we're both became aware of is stay in the comfort and the familiar with this almost like recognition that I don't want to be here. Like we had it hitting us on the head. I mean, I know I did for years, but I like was like, no, I got this. Like it's okay. No, 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 it's fine. I'll make it work. But the moment came, and then the choice of I accept the unknown way more. I'm more willing. I'm willing to take the risk because I don't want to stay here anymore, whatever the here was. And it wasn't that it was bad. It was just that I was done with it. And it doesn't always have to be bad.
It's trusting more than taking the risk. So I think part of taking the risk is trusting. I trust that
Oh,
what I'm doing is going to be better on the other side than maybe how uncomfortable I'm feeling right now.
don't you feel like by going through this kind of this leap that you went through? Because I went through a terror barrier. That's what it was. There's a
I love that
psychology term
word.
called terror barrier. I mean, I thought I was gonna die, like terror style. But do you? I'll just talk for myself, and then I wanted to see if you also feel this way. But because of going through that, I have been able to apply this same concept to life now, where I realize what I want is on the other side of that fear, and I'm moving through fear a lot faster now. Do you feel like the same thing for you?
100%. 100% actually. Yeah, it is. You prove to yourself
Because what?
I can do this because you know that you can do it and it all worked out okay. Because you trusted, and I will say that during that process I did trust that what was going to be on the other side was for my best interest. And I also want to clarify too that we're not just talking about material things. I mean, I think
No.
when you talk about wealth and manifesting and all this stuff, it doesn't have to be, you know, a house or a car or whatever these big things are. I think that can be part of it.
Wealth is a mindset. And actually, both of us left stuff. We left things, comfort, apartments, but we stepped into more.
Yeah.
I have more with less. And that's what I think I'm learning. I don't know if it's an age thing or I feel like learning to let go of the things that hold me hostage or I have attachment to are
Yeah.
actually giving me the pathway to more. Like I feel more abundant, even though I actually quote unquote have less.
Yeah, and I think wealth is so subjective for each of us. So, sort of backing up a little bit, I went to a retreat of yours back in September, and it was a high vibe. It was a high vibe manifesting retreat. And when I went to your retreat, I felt very clear as to what I wanted and how I wanted to live this life that I was gifted. So I wanted to live in a beach house in a small little beach town and just, you know, go to a farmer's market and do all this stuff and live this sort of style that I'm living now, which I work from home and all this stuff, but take this and put it near the beach in the South where it's warm because I'm up where it's cold. And like that's my whole
Yeah.
goal. And I don't consider it an expensive thing or a material. So that's just where I want to live. I'm not saying I need a mansion. I'm not saying I need a hut. I want something
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. But I was very clear on what I wanted. And when you and I had talked, one of the things that was probably my biggest obstacle was look at the work that I do and the income that I'm making doing the work that I do. Yeah, those don't add up to this. This is not going to get
Mm-hmm.
you here. So what do I have to do different? And
Yeah.
within 2 months, I had pretty much sold most of my stuff and moved down to Pennsylvania with my sister to help out with my mom. But it was a tough decision to make because I gave up a lot of autonomy. I gave up all of my own stuff. I mean, I have my own space here, but it was a lot to give up, but I knew I needed to do it. Um, and I knew it wasn't the direct path, but I felt doing this was more on the path than where I was. And
Mm.
it was incredible how things started shifting almost immediately.
It wasn't the direct path. I think that's what we're always looking for is like, how do I get there? How do I get there? There is no there, first of all. I mean, there is now, and now is there.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's like
you,
we get caught up in this thing of, well, I'll do this when this, and that used to be me big time. Well, I'll do this when this, whether I'll do
oh
this when
yeah.
I lose 10 pounds, I'll do this when, I do this thing or when I achieve that, but it's like, no. I mean, I started this podcast. What the hell do I know about doing a podcast? I'm like, I just knew I wanted to interview people that I liked and admired and knew were on the same path, had the same thoughts and feelings. And I knew that other people wanted this same information and felt the same way I did about where I was in my life. I turned 50 last year. I was like, this isn't really where I want to be. How do I get there? And how do I drop all this other crap that really doesn't mean anything? Because I realized once I unloaded all my stuff, all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff was replaceable because it was just
Everything
stuff.
is
But the
replaceable.
people in my life weren't, the my friends, my family,
Well,
all these other things, they
there you
weren't
are.
what was replaceable. It was just this stuff that was weighing me down.
It's so funny you just talked about that. I just my newsletter that went out this week was all about happiness, and that for such a long time I was someone who was looking for happiness as if it was something outside of me. With the whole like what you just said, like I heard myself say things like, when I lose weight, I'll be happy, or when I make X amount of money, I'll be happy, or when I move into the bigger apartment, I'll be happy, or when I get in the relationship, whatever. And then it felt like happiness was always in the future. It was never in the now. And I kept thinking it was a place of arrival. And yeah, not realizing it was right here the whole time, because like we said from the very beginning, it's a mindset, it's a lens in which we see life. And you can choose happy, you can choose unhappy in any given moment, but you got to empower yourself that it's a choice.
And even if you're feeling crappy and shitty and all these things that happen to you, you can still choose to feel happy, even though you like are not. You know what I mean? It's almost like tricking yourself into, and I don't mean it like tricking, but no, I'm going to feel happy. I'm going to be happy because being stuck in that misery, you don't get out of it any other way than by choosing to.
Yeah, I feel like I always am saying there's no emotion that's bad or good. I don't think of it that way.
Yeah.
I think of more productive and unproductive, but it's staying in something too long that makes it unproductive, like staying in the stuck or staying in the sad. Like, of course, feel your sadness, feel your little poopy mood that you had in the morning, but like staying in it, that's a choice. because it has its wave, and you got to ride that wave out. And then if you want to stay there, that's on you.
Yeah. And I don't think
So
anybody would ever say, especially your eye, that you're never going to feel that way. Oh, do this, 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 all this stuff. You're never going to feel sad again. I don't believe that because life comes at us no matter
no,
what. So it's what we do with that sadness. And again, it comes down to the choices that we make.
totally. It's all about choices.
Choosing whether or not to stay where you're at or choosing to do something different. It's a choice, and we all have a choice.
Which leads back to that like risk thing we were talking about, which is the unknown, which is the uncertainty, which is the trust. And like, what do you have to lose? I mean, you always can come back to the thing you knew. My favorite quote by Bob Proctor, which super sad that he's now passed away, but his quote will forever be my favorite quote of all time. Both faith and fear demand us to believe in something we cannot see. So you choose. And I just love it because at any given moment, you have the choice, the faith that everything's going to be okay, or the fear that this is worst case scenario. But either way, you don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So you might as well just choose something. Go for it.
The one thing to keep in mind is that choosing your mindset, it doesn't cost anything. It does not cost
Yeah.
anything to wake up and feel like garbage about whatever I was thinking about and say, nope, I'm done with that. I'm going to focus on this, this, and this. And I'm done with that garbage. I will, goodbye. It doesn't cost anything
Yeah.
to do that.
Well, it's about using that garbage conversation as a tool. So like everything travels with its counterpart. So as much as you might be in like negative thinking about your body, which is what my story is all about, thinking, a lot of negative thoughts about my body image or my money story. It's like you always can flip it to the other side. And I think that's the choice. That's the empowerment. That's like catching your, I mean, look, I want to admit, I woke up in a really bad mood today and I didn't want to go to yoga. I didn't want to do anything. I was like really in a bad mood. And I was like, all right, let's ride this out for a few hours. I was enjoying the negativity on some level because hey, why not? Like, there's something about that also feeds me. The like serious, like I don't want to smile, Lisa. I went to yoga, started to feel better, and like I made the conscious choice, and then I was like, all right, are we done with this now? Because like this is not working. And then I made an action. I like said, snap out of it. Went to the beach and chose
Well,
differently.
that goes back to what we had just said before. You can't just think it, you got to do. So you got to take the
Yeah.
action. And even changing your attitude, that's an action. Choosing, say, okay, I'm done with you, bad mood, moving on. That's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's an action in and of itself.
Well, choosing to smile, really, that's an action. Like from going from like this, like I want to hate everything, like this fight, to like, you know what? Why don't you change your attitude, Lisa? Like smile, and that's a choice. It's subtle, but it is a choice.
But we also have to start somewhere. And sometimes on our bad days, that's where we're going to start. And if that's all we can do, hey, you know what? It makes a difference because every little time you do it,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes easier and easier and easier.
Yeah.
That is what I have found the key to almost getting and unlocking that wealth within, whatever, that's what I'm calling it. But the key to all of it, you can take as many supplements as you want, you can eat all the best foods, you can do everything right externally. But the most toxic thing that I feel in our environment is right here. It's these thoughts that we think, and nothing can be more toxic than the
Mm-hmm.
thoughts that we think to our body, more toxic than probably
Mm-hmm.
any poison or anything else.
Of all the laws of the universe, if you study the Hermetic laws or any of the other, the law of mentalism, the law of thinking, like everything is starts with your thoughts, and that's what you're creating in your life. So yeah, I got to think about what you think about. That's why I made a song about it. Think
I
about what you think about. We don't really do that a lot. We're so on program. We're so programming, like we're running programs and we're comfortable with whatever's happening. We don't question our own thinking. And that would be like here for you and your viewers. If I were to impart anything, it would be like, question your own thoughts, question your stories, question yourself, question everything, because not not everything was yours. You're probably running some program that was given to you by someone else, usually a primary caretaker in your life. And we just take it on as our own, and we start, no, we stop thinking in that sense, and we just play out something that isn't even working for us.
We can even go a little bit deeper and say, well, where did that thought come from? Did it come from,
Yeah,
it probably didn't
is that
originate
even mine?
from you. It probably originated somehow in your past, in your, like you said, a parental figure, a teacher, could have been your friends, could have been anybody. But where did that thought originate from? And I wouldn't even go too deep on it. Even if you just recognize the fact that, hey, that's not my thought, that's not even true.
Yeah,
Half of these thoughts are lies that we're telling ourselves or that we're believing that other people have said. They're just lies, so get rid of
yeah. I've been using the visual of the babushka dolls, those Russian dolls that you just keep
them.
opening up, the nesting dolls. I've been using those the last year a lot. They really influenced me in the sense of, okay, so imagine your life as this babushka doll, and you're like, okay, the outer layer, taking off society's thoughts of who you should be, and then your parents, and then your community, and then your religion, and then, okay, you keep going down, and then you realize you have even your own restrictions that you put on yourself that aren't even yours, and then you keep going, and then down there is that tiny little thing that's your true self. That one is just pure you. And I think if you're brave enough to take that journey to that tiny little truth, it's a journey, because you do have to shed a lot of layers, and you have to be bold enough to go against what you think is true or right or wrong, and do it anyway. I mean, that's like the definition I read the other day. I think some Oprah quote about courage was, see the fear and do it anyway. But trust yourself, trust that there's always something waiting for you. I mean, I don't know, good or bad, productive, unproductive. It's not about that. It's just change it up. I don't know. I'm all in like this change,
Yes,
keep moving thing.
trust and change. Trust yourself, trust God, trust the universe, trust the unseen. I think,
Trust and change, and then change and trust. It's interesting which comes first. I don't know. You just got to keep going.
yeah, that's
Do you
true.
trust and then you change, or do you change because you trust?
Mm, I like that.
It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Oh no.
That's the thing. Like when they say that thing about like believe it to see, no, wait, see it to believe it or believe it to see it. I don't know. I don't care anymore. Just keep moving. Make a different, like make a do anything different. It's like a ripple out effect. Like if you throw a little pebble in a pond, you just trust that you don't always see those outer concentric circles, but like it keeps going.
Yeah, you figure the ocean
That's kind
starts
of fun.
way, way, way out there where we can't see, but somehow the wave makes it to shore. And I think that so much of the mindset, at least for me, was societal. Like, if I do this, will I be thought of as bad or good? And it's all these, is it good? Is it bad? Am I liked? Am I not liked? Am
Mhm.
I this? Am I that? And it was really all about pleasing other people. And I firmly believe, and do no harm. Do your own thing, but do no harm along the way. But also stop worrying about what everybody else thinks about you.
Well, when you start to hit the 40s, I called the 40s the fuck it 40s, where like I could really start feeling like I stopped caring about what everyone was thinking. It was still there. I mean, I guess we're programmed for that, but it definitely changing. I mean, everyone should be doing their own thing.
So if we're saying that from our uh experience level, what about people that are younger? I often think about my kids. Do you think it's something that we have to experience to really know, or can it be taught? You think about the world that we live in today and all the programming that we're getting, whether it's on TV, whether it's our friends, our family, politicians,
Mm.
everywhere, the programming, everybody's got their own opinion, their own reason for their
Yeah.
opinions or their agenda. And I think right now, as much as there's so many of us moving forward, there's a lot of forces in place that are sort of trying to rein that back. And I see it with my kids who are 21,
Yeah.
the language and the programming that they've been thrown at. What do you think is the best way for us all to overcome that?
That's part of the journey, is making your way through that to then, like, to your point, experience it. I think the quest to not care about what people think is the journey, and that was what led me here. So they're going to have to go through it. There's information for them, if they so desire, to look at. I'm caring about what people think about me. Why am I doing that? I think for children and for anyone, are you someone who's able to look at life as with the lens of what is here for me to learn? I think that's the more important
Mm,
lens,
yeah.
whether it's comparing yourself or failure or success or abundance or poor or broke or like whatever it is. It's about that mindset. I think that's the one, like, what's here for me to learn so that I can choose differently next time. Back to our original thing around choice.
That choice in alone in and of itself is me taking responsibility. And I think that we all need to do a better job at that, taking responsibility for our own actions and for the own results
Yeah.
in front of us. How did I get here? What do I need to do different? And even more importantly, what is it that I want out of this life? What is it that I want? Because it's not going to be the same
Yeah.
for everybody. I think just defining that is hard. Defining what you want.
Yeah, I mean that's so two things. One is I was going to say defining what wealth means, which you're talking a lot about the wealth within, and then the second thing I was going to say, and I want to come back to that, was that my tagline is be the creator of your life. It sounds so easy, like, oh yeah, create your life. But like, to be the creator of your life, you have to ask yourself on a constant basis, what do I want? Am I willing to do what it takes to have what I want? But what do I want is probably the hardest question that we have, and talk about those society babushka doll things, is like, what do I want? Is that really what I want, or is that imposed on me? And like, you have to start getting really clear about that for yourself, because that's not even a clear pathway sometimes. Well, once you start also identifying what you want, then, like what you said, you're responsible for that happening. And then you have to then make it happen. So and here's our full circle for our conversation. It's easier to stay in the wanting
Yeah.
instead of taking the steps to having.
So how do we get to know and be clear on what it is that we want out of this life?
I always say, you got to go to the quiet and the stillness of yourself, when whatever that means, whatever meditation means for you, whether it's sitting silently with yourself, whether it's listening to music or a guided meditation or journaling, whatever. I'm not here to tell someone how to be with themselves, but you have to sit with yourself. You need to be in nature at some point and look at the wisdom around you. Like, we are constantly giving ourselves information. I know here, I mean, talking about us moving apartments from earlier, I was saying I got to get out of here in my New York apartment for like a few years. And I wasn't willing to admit that that was what I really wanted. And then I admitted I wanted it, and I was too scared to do the things that I had to do it, until I wasn't. But I was giving myself that information for years. I was telling myself, I wasn't listening. I didn't want to listen because I wasn't ready to take the steps. But my point here is, you're telling yourself what you want all the time, and it's usually hidden in what you don't want. We're very conditioned to complain. We're very much into connecting with other people about what's not working. So if you want to take a moment, listen to what you're complaining about and flip it around. I don't want to be in a big city. I don't want to live in New York City anymore. I don't want this small apartment. I don't want. Okay, well, what's the opposite? I want expansion. I want a bigger place. I want a community. Like, I had the answer in what I didn't want. And my favorite quote from my art history teacher in college is, to see what it is, you must know what it isn't. And he taught us that, to identify what art piece was from what era by identifying what it isn't. And you can apply that to your life. I don't want this, flip it over. It means I want this. And that's where the pivot and the manifesting energy. And then here we go with choice, thoughts, mindset. I focus here. No more on what I don't want. It's just going to more create what I don't want. I have to flip it at some point and be willing to cultivate that, take steps there in that direction, whatever they were.
We know what it is that we don't want, or that we don't want, what we don't like, what's
Mm-hmm.
bothering us. When you ask the opposite, well, what do you want? Most of us are like, well, I don't know what I want. But you're real quick to know exactly what you don't want, what you don't like, what you don't have, all these negative
Yep.
things. I love what you just said. And I don't think it matters how you get there. But one thing I think you and I would probably agree on, if you're in constant stress or constant overload with noise and volume, whatever that may be, sitting and being quiet, whatever that means to you. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's gardening, maybe it's knitting, maybe it's doing a project, maybe it's reading. I don't know what it is, but if you don't get quiet, those aren't going to be your thoughts. There are someone else's thoughts put in there. It's only when you can get
Mm-hmm.
quiet that you can decipher what's truly yours.
I met you at a serious journaling practice, and then I let it go. And I just bought this one here in Mexico because I haven't been able to hear myself think for a while. I've been on the move. I've been living with lots of people recently. And I got here and I was like, oh my God, I really need to get this out. Like, what do I want? Where am I going with my business, with my life, with my it's there, like we said, there is no there. It's just a constant self-inquiry and discovery, and it's a choice for me to live my best life every day.
Well, speaking of your best life, why don't you tell us where you are and how you got there? Because you are definitely the creator of your life.
I'm in Mexico right now, and this has been a long time and a lot of leaps of faith to get here. And the biggest one 3 years ago, I thought, like I mentioned to you, with the terror barrier, I thought I was going to die. Like, I never experienced a change feeling so unearthing. I remember the year before, this is the strangest thing to like admit, but I was jealous of people. And I don't get jealous because, well, no, yes, I'll just explain something. I was jealous of people who were having big life changes. And I found myself having that weird thought. And then I told myself something that I teach, which is jealousy is showing you what you want for yourself. And I was like, what? I want a big unearthed life change. And I was like, yes, I do. Because I was so routine and stuck. I could feel it. It was like visceral. And then there, lo and behold, identifying what I want, started calling it in. And moments of decision came to me. And it was a slow process. You don't have to be all like jump off the edge and not be responsible. I subletted for a few months. I came to Mexico. The next time I subletted for a longer time, I came to Mexico. And now I've released myself from my New York apartment for a whole year. I'm here in Mexico. I'm leading my retreats, Manifest in Mexico. And it was a lot of choices, and some of them were extremely uncomfortable. And I had to not care what a lot of people thought and do it anyway because I was following what was in here. And that sometimes can be very scary too. So yeah, I'm here in Mexico and I love my beach life. It makes me feel great. I feel like healthy here. I make good decisions. I like who I am. And I think that we should really realize that that's available to us, that we can have a life that feels good. But you do have to make decisions and work to it or towards it or take risks to find it. I traveled the world for at least 5 years trying to find a place that made me feel this way. And I found Mexico. I found this place by accident. I was traveling with a friend through Mexico, and this was not, Puerto Morelos was not on our itinerary. But we last minute, which I won't get into, changed an Airbnb, arrived here. And this thing happened where I go, oh my God, I I've been waiting for whatever it was. I was waiting for that feeling. And I actually told my friend, I'm sorry, I cannot continue on with you. And I was the risk of losing the friendship. I was like, I've been waiting a really long time to feel this way. Like I have to see this through. And lo and behold, like all these things unfolded where this place became where I want to be and who I want to, like, I can't explain it, but I want to be here.
So you trusted enough to stay there. And I think as much as the forced change comes, so I think what you're saying is so brilliant, because sometimes we want to force this change to happen. Other times we don't even see it coming, and all of a sudden this thing happens. And when we can step back and say, well, why did this happen? Because in one way or another, we brought it in, we called it in one way or another, to learn something from it. And even if it's an accident or whatever it is, if you're there to learn what's in it for you, that happened for a reason, that either forced you to change,
No,
or brought you whatever circumstances brought you to that place. You were supposed to be at that place. And it's funny because you can only ever really see it in hindsight. So that's
I
where
know.
the faith comes in. Like, I gotta trust and faith in it, because in a month or a year, I'm gonna look back and be like, yeah, now I get why that happened.
All the dots, you can see
Yeah,
why and how they connected,
yeah.
but in the moment you can't. And to this, I'm 3 years in and I'm almost still can't see the full dots yet. I can see yeah, I can see the stepping stones and I'm on the right path, but I think there's even something bigger here that I can't even see yet. The
Well,
dots
again,
connecting
just
in a bigger
where
way.
I'm at. If you'd asked me even a year ago, and especially within the last, I would probably almost say since I left Pennsylvania. I'm originally from Pennsylvania and now I'm back the last 2 months. But if you'd ever have asked me if I'd have ended up back in Pennsylvania, I'd have been like, no, I won't ever go back there. There's, it's not near the beach, it's not this, it's not warm, it's, my family, this is the one
Mhm.
thing that is the best part about being here, is I'm around my family and all of that. But all the other stuff, I would have said no, I'll never be back here. And I'm not saying I'm going to stay here. I know for my path it's just a stepping stone. I have yet to see why. But for whatever
Oh,
reason,
I don't know. I already can see a few things, but maybe, yeah.
a few things, but not the full
Well, we
picture.
already talked about some of the lessons of letting go of all the stuff. That's that's part of it.
And it's funny, once you start letting go, you're like, it's like when you move. If you ever moved and you get to the end of your stuff and you're just like, I don't even care. I'll give it away for free. I will put it on the corner. It'll go in the dumpster. Like,
Yeah.
you get so freeing that, like, some of the stuff you just realize does this really matter? No, this doesn't matter. Like, this $10
Yeah.
lamp from Target, does this really need to go in the truck? No, I think I'm good.
You know, I always say like perspective shifting is the most powerful thing you can have because the things around you don't change, but how you see them does.
Yes,
And that's what's powerful.
it is. It is. And I just have been watching and learning recently how our optical vision, how our eyes are actually tied right into our pineal gland, and it acts in the same way optically as our eyes. So it's sort of like that knowingness
Mm,
inside of us. So that's why they call it the all-seeing eye, because it actually acts just as our eyes act. It's so interesting. So it just goes to show you
that
that
is interesting.
sometimes we make these decisions and everything, and we just have this internal knowing, and we may not understanding it, but trusting it and not ignoring it, and taking the action, taking the steps to move forward.
Yeah.
That's the only way to go. I can't tell people what health is to them, what wealth is to them, what anything is to them.
Defining what wealth means, like, because that's a really interesting question. What
It
does
is.
wealth mean to, because the people who are coming for the retreat in February here, it seems to there's already a theme coming up around people's money story. And so there's a lot about, well, it's a mindset, but wealth, it's like, that's an interesting word. Actually, your podcast is called The Wealth Within. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, and I very consciously chose that word.
I want to know what it means to you.
So I think the
The
word wealth
wealth.
is often very overlooked, because we can be wealthy in so many different ways that we don't realize. Whereas most people look at wealth, oh, that person's so wealthy. Do they have a big house? Like, whatever it is, it's so centered around materialistic things, I think. And when I think
Uh-huh.
of wealth, I think if I'm not healthy, then I'm probably not very wealthy either. If I don't have any love in my heart, then I'm not wealthy. If I don't have a lot of good people around me, good relationships, good family, whatever that means to you, I'm not married or anything and I'm not with
Mm,
anybody. But all of those relationships, if you don't have good relationships with people, with your clients, with your business, then you're not wealthy. To me, wealthy is like I want to be wealthy. I want the whole package. The relationships, the love, the financial aspect of it as
mm,
well. Just that's what wealth means to me, to be healthy. Because even if I had piles of money and I was sick all the time or stressed or working, what good is it? I mean, I know people that they'll have houses otherwhere, or they'll have this and that, or a boat, and they never
hmm.
use it. And it's just things sitting around. And so you could say on paper you're wealthy, but are you wealthy here? Because if you have all this stuff and you're not using it or sharing it or enjoying it,
Yeah.
is that really wealth? So what I'm trying to do is to unlock that wealth within all of us and how to achieve it. And at the same time, if I'm sitting here broke and poor and I'm stressed out about where my money's coming for my mortgage or my car payment or my rent or food, that's not wealthy. That's stressful. And that stress then plays on your health and everything else. So I think it's
Hmm.
having that balance. I think wealth is achieving a balance of all of these sort of things in your life. And that's to me truly being wealthy.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the distinction, which I think will resonate with most people, which is like to pull away wealth from being anything related to a material thing. Because, like, I mean, we hear stories about people who have a ton of money that are miserable. So,
Mhm.
wealth, again, here we go, mindset. It's a choice to, because also we hear people who have very little that are very happy.
Yeah.
You go to different countries. So it's not, I think, yeah, it's an interesting thing for everyone to define what wealth, the wealth within them, or
Yeah.
just activate the wealth within them.
Yeah. And then live it. You
Yeah. I like when, as you're talking, I kept on, yeah, I was connecting wealth and lifestyle. So like I live here like, it will appear as luxury to many. It's like how I'm choosing to present it and how I'm feeling around it. Like I feel wealthy with the simple thing of being so close to a beach. That to me is like what I strive to have for a long time.
because some people will be like, ugh, I don't like the beach. I like the mountains, or I like the lake, or I like
Oh
this.
yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
all individual. Maybe you like a sports car. Me, I could care less about a sports car. So it's
That's
so
right.
personal. And that's why it's like so much undefinable, the
And
specific.
here we come back to what do you want? Whether you're talking about what do you want lifestyle or even intimately with someone sexual, like you got to get clear your food, your exercise, like you are the creator of your life. And I think so much of our teachings have been letting the outside influence us. Your wealth from within is about living from inside out, and to live from the inside out, you just got to ask. Actually, part of my journaling exercise right now that I'm literally putting myself on this, I start every day, Lisa, what do you want? That's the question I ask every morning.
Does it change?
Yeah, every day. Because some days I'm like focused on like, okay, what do I want to do today? Because I'm like, oh my God, my brain. Or it's like, whoa, what do I want? Do I really want, do I want to live in Mexico permanently? Like, am I really going to entertain this? Or wait, what am I doing with my business? Like, it's a great question.
I love that. I love that. Well, how can people connect to you to change their mindset?
Ah, well, metamorphize.com is my website, and I have an amazing 30-day audio program for mind mastery, which is, I think, probably one of the best things I've put together as a culmination. It's a self-guided experience. You get a mind mastery audio delivered to your inbox every day. They help you think about what you're thinking about. During this program, you take on one 5-minute action step for a day because it's also about showing up. And in the showing up, you find consistency, commitment, and discipline, which I think we're all having our relationship with, which then leads to your relationship with resistance, which if you master resistance, you master self mastery. And we're all working on that for our lifetimes. So yeah, metamorphize.com. Well, that is /30 audios, but you can find it all on my website, metamorphize.com.
And I will have a
And
link
then
on
yeah,
wealthwithin.us for your information as well. So people
thank you.
are
Thank
going
you.
to get it, and do not pass this up. You need to work with this woman. I'm telling
I
you,
have a New Year's special going right now, so you definitely don't want to pass it up.
definitely not. Well, thank you so much. I always love talking to you. We've been
I
friends
know we could go
for a
on
long time.
forever.
We learn and grow together, and for some reason our paths always seem to align somehow. It's crazy. So that just tells me that you're meant to be in my life.
Yeah, well, we haven't been able to shake each other yet.
One of my goals and my why, and what does Michelle want? Michelle wants her beach house and Lisa hosting retreats out of that beach.
Oh,
That is like one of
yes.
my dreams. And I got clear on that at your retreat.
That's amazing. I love it. Well, I'm totally there. And yeah, what does Lisa want? I'm stepping into like, oh shit, like I lead retreats all year round around the world because I love it and it's amazing. So step 1, realize. Step 2, visualize. Step 3, actualize so you can metamorphize. We'll leave you on that. I love you, Michelle. Thank you so much.
And you will definitely be back, right?
I'll be back
Yes.
anytime.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.